And let's begin in Somalia, where Somalia has taken its maritime border dispute with Kenya to the international United Nations top court, that is the International Court of Justice, that is based in The Hague. And according to reports, the case filed yesterday is expected to heavily influence the fate of potentially lucrative oil and gas reserves off the Kenyan coast. KTN's Noah Tieno reports.
A dispute that has been simmering for years between Kenya and Somalia is now before the judges at the International Court of Justice, a court whose jurisdiction both Kenya and Somalia have accepted. This is the center of the conflict between the neighbors. Somalia insists that Kenya has stubbornly encroached into her international waters by misinterpreting the direction of the borderline along the Indian Ocean coast. Kenya allegedly sees the borderline extending in a straight line into the ocean, giving Kenya about 100,000 square kilometers of very lucrative territory. Somalia says Kenya is claiming more than her fair share, insisting instead that the borderline should extend southeastwards, giving almost the same size of territory back to Somalia. This battle is not just about the water or the land. Already, Kenya, Somalia, and international investors are convinced that the area is potentially rich in oil and gas deposits. Even though some big investors have been reluctant to get into the exploration for the resources due to lack of clarity on which country legally owns the territory, some brave ones have allegedly already been given exploration contracts by the Kenyan government. This is at the center of the court case at the ICJ.
In the near future.
In a statement released by the court last evening, Somalia is requesting the court to determine, on the basis of international law, the complete course of the Indian Ocean borderline between Kenya and Somalia. Somalia says all diplomatic negotiations have failed to resolve the disagreement. Although cases at the ICJ can take years to conclude, the court, which is the United Nations highest court, is highly respected and its decision would be firmly binding. Now, KTN Newsdesk.
And back home to some tragic news in Baringo County. 4 children aged between 12 and 6 died when a fire gutted their house last night at Eldama Ravine in Baringo County. The fire is said to have started at around 10:30 p.m. as the 4 children were asleep. Their mother, who arrived at their house at around 11:30 p.m., says she and her father are usually away on official duties and only visited the children on weekends. The family says they still do not know the cause of the fire, as the elder brother had put off the lamp before leaving the house, where the younger siblings were already in bed.
Na ndugu zao wanasema hiyo moto inaweza kuwa imesababishwa na nini?
Majirani walijaribu, hata ndugu yangu walijaribu, walikuwa hapa wakiwa na polisi wa Koibatek, wakajaribu sana, lakini hakukuwa na uwezo, manake nyumba yote kabisa kulikuwa kumekolea moshi. Manake hii nyumba ilikuwa ni nyumba ya bao, na hii bao ambayo imepakwa mafuta ya oil.
Hiyo kijana sina alikuja na moto wa oil. Sasa kupiga hapa wakakuta moshi ni kali sana. Hata si mwingine alimwambia mguu akifuruta hiyo mwingine kwa dirisha.
Nilikuja nikipiga nduru. Kufika mahali pale nikakuta nyumba yote imekuwa red. Kuangalia nikaona kuna kijana ni kama alikuwa anataka kujiokoa, amesimama kwa kona. Na hapo ndiye alianguka. Na nikakuwa confused. Niliomboleza kwa hiyo masaa. Wakati nilitulia, ndio nikauliza jirani kulikuwaje? Akaniambia hata sisi tunashangaa kwa sababu watoto walikuwa wamelala.
Very tragic news there. But now let's move on to the debate on the referendum. And a section of internally displaced persons have registered their displeasure with the idea of a referendum, terming it a waste of resources. Through their leaders, the victims of the post-election violence urged the country's leaders to turn their attention to more pressing matters. IDP leaders drawn from across the country were meeting in a Naivasha hotel where they sought 1 million shillings in compensation for each family affected by post-election violence. Through their umbrella body, the Internally Displaced Persons Support Initiative, they said the funds set to be used in the referendum exercise could as well be used to resettle them. The leaders claim that hundreds of IDPs are yet to be resettled, adding that the referendum could end up reopening old wounds.
IDB watakuwa na mikutano sehemu zote. IDB wako kupinga mambo ya referendum. Kwanza serikali ipewe nafasi ya kuhakikisha IDB wote wamepata kupatiwa compensation ili waweze kurudia maisha yao ya kawaida.
And a motion seeking the impeachment of Bomet County Assembly Speaker Geoffrey Kipngetich over alleged incompetence has been rejected after all members of the County Assembly present, including the one who brought the motion forward, voted against it. The motion to impeach the Speaker was moved by Merigi Ward Representative Sami Chelule, who alleged that the Speaker was incompetent and had been giving misleading rulings. During the debate, members defended the Speaker, terming the motion as a plan by other members to derail the development agenda. The matter was put to a vote and all 32 members present, including the one who tabled the motion, voted against the proposal to impeach the Speaker. This is the second time a motion to impeach the Speaker of Bomet County has failed. And now let's cross over to Mercy Kandiye, who is both following and enjoying herself at the Turkana Cultural Festival that is the very first of its kind in Turkana County. Mercy, good afternoon, and bring us up to speed with what's happening at the Turkana Cultural Festival.
Good afternoon. We are in Lodwar town at Kanemker Primary School for the second day of the very first ever Turkana Cultural Festival. A beautiful event, I must say. I wish you were here to experience. I am now joined by the CC executive in charge of tourism in Turkana County. Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for being here, for granting us this interview. Tell us about this festival. What is there today?
Thank you. My name is Honorable Laina Sebenyo, the CNC in charge of tourism, trade and industrialization, Turkana County government. First of all, I would like to say Tobongolore, which in Turkana means, in English means welcome back home. This is the second day of the first ever edition of Turkana Tourism and Cultural Festival. There is so much in store for all of us today. This is a day dedicated to the Turkana culture. We will also have our traditional groups again from the best performing from the assembly, again from the sub-counties. Then in the evening, right from 7 in the evening, the big Turkana cultural night will begin. It's a huge carnival which will culminate in the crowning of the first Turkana Miss Turkana Cultural Heritage.
Mheshimiwa, I'm glad that the Turkana Cultural Festival is happening. And do you think this is a new thing in terms of having positive news coming out of Turkana? We've just been hearing of insecurity, a bandit attack, poor roads. Does Turkana County have much more to offer than what the people usually know?
As a county government, we have resolved to do every best to bring the best of Turkana out to the public, so that Kenya and the rest of the world really appreciates what we have as a county. Turkana culture is the most beautiful, the most original, the most authentic of all cultures. Problem is, it's only the negative the little bit of negatives of this county that has been painted out there in the open. So we want to bring out the 99 positive of this county, again, to the rest of the world. We have the culture. We have over 50 tourism attractions, all of them of world-class status. You know, we have Lake Turkana, the biggest and largest permanent desert lake in the whole world. We have Central Island National Park with 3 crater lakes. We have South Turkana National Game Reserve. We have the hot springs of Kapedo. We have huge number of tourism products. And this is a tourist county. This is a destination of all tourists. This is a destination of choice for all investors who want to invest in the hospitality industry. We have so much in this county.
Thank you very much for your time. I mean, and you back at home, you have until Saturday, Mheshimiwa?
You have until Saturday morning. Until Sunday morning.
Oh, Sunday morning.
The carnival goes on all the way until Sunday morning. Yesterday, we opened this grand festival with a huge show of fireworks, which rose up to the skies. That was just a big culmination, a big sign that the festival in Turkana is real. And this is something we plan to do every year. So it's going to be an annual festival to bring all Turkanas together, to celebrate their culture, to celebrate their beauty, to bring peaceful coexistence and improve the socio-economics of the county.
Thank you very much. So if you can't make it this year, you can make it for the next Turkana Cultural Festival. From us here in Turkana County, do have a lovely day.
Thank you so much, Masi Kandie. And that is fantastically well-put African culture. And there's no better way to explain that than when you're in Turkana County. Well, next year, hoping we can make it there to Turkana to check out what the Turkana Cultural Festival is all about. Now, moving on to more news, Deputy President William Ruto has asked security agencies to work together in the fight against crime. The Deputy President said there was need for closer collaboration among the police, military officers, National Intelligence Service, and immigration officers in the fight against crime. Speaking when he opened the 11th session of the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services, Ruto said working together would eliminate competition, which he said was threatening efforts to achieve development in the African continent. The theme of the meeting was enhancing intelligence cooperation and coordination to address radicalization and extremism in Africa. Ruto said the move by the African Union to come up with Africa's standby force with mandate to promptly respond to conflicts was very commendable.
Of skills acquisition, we must acknowledge that the traditional security paradigm is thoroughly inadequate for managing emerging challenges. Modern criminals are educated and sophisticated. Quite often, they are better equipped with hardware and software and intelligence and are better organized and more strategic in their approach than they were at the high moon of the old security canon. So ordinary crime is no longer ordinary in any way.
That intelligence chiefs meeting closes today. Now, we'll take a short break. More news to come. That is business and sport. You stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching News Desk here on KTN. Let's take a look at business. And the cost of electricity will come down in the next 2 months after the government commissions 280 megawatts from Olkaria to the national grid. Cabinet Secretary for Energy Davis Churcher has said that the government is on course with its aim to lower cost of electricity by 25% by December this year and 40% by February 2050.
I can assure you the cost of power is coming down. In fact, only this month or next month we are targeting commissioning of 2 plants in Olkaria, 280 megawatts. It is a 140 times 2 generation sites in Olkaria 4 and Olkaria 1. And this will come to the grid at a very competitive price of about 7 cents US.
And in more business, Equity Bank has tapped New York-based strategy consultant McKinsey to roll out its 3.0 strategy. The 5-year strategy centers on convergence between telecommunications and financial services as the bank gears up to launch a mobile banking platform. This follows the licensing of its mobile virtual network operator subsidiary FinServe earlier in the year. Equity is targeting a slice of the mobile money transfer market by linking customer accounts to its own network. McKinsey is not new to the Kenyan market, having recently opened its regional hub in Nairobi. Several financial services companies such as KCB, National Bank, and most recently Britam have tapped into the firm to implement their own turnaround strategies.
If you want to be a relevant institution globally over the next 25 years, you better be in Africa. And I think we're going to see many more African companies that will be the global champions and the shapers. That's what's going to happen. It's already happening in Asia. And I would also argue that means that it's very important we think about relationships that we have as leaders, and you as leaders here.
Now, usually we are told to go to college, graduate, and then get a job. But in the US, it's something totally different, or let's say the reverse. And 20 college-age students are getting $100,000 from a Silicon Valley leader and a chance to live in San Francisco in order to work on the startup project of their dreams. But they have to quit school first. And here's more on this story.
By the time they reach their 20s, Kaushik and Aditi will already be budding entrepreneurs. Today, they are visiting a biotech lab to find out how to break into the world of medical technology for their new startup projects.
Incubators and centrifuges and ovens.
Kaushik wants to use his computer science training to improve medical care across the United States.
I don't like to work on apps or I want something that has an actionable benefit on people's lives that I can see. And healthcare is one of the biggest problems that we face as a humanity.
Biotechnology is really...
He is working to create a platform that would allow primary care physicians, specialists, and hospitals to more easily exchange information. Kaushik received a fellowship for $100,000 from a tech leader to develop the project, but the scheme requires recipients to leave college. So Kaushik left the prestigious Columbia University where he studied computer science and moved to this San Francisco apartment where he lives with other fellowship recipients.
That's what everyone does. You go back to school after you graduate from high school. And at one point I decided that didn't make sense for me.
20 exceptional young students under 20 years old were chosen for the program, including Lucy. She already has work experience in computer engineering, designing educational software. For her, the decision to leave college behind her was not an easy one to make.
My parents were not happy with the fellowship. They did not want me to do it, and they think that if I don't get my degree, then I'm going to become a hobo someday.
Behind the fellowship program is Peter Thiel, the billionaire who co-founded PayPal, an online money transfer system. Thiel firmly believes that universities stifle innovation rather than foster it.
We wanted people to be able to have the time to work on their projects really unencumbered and also not be accruing more debt as a young person. One of the things that we talk about is that if you are a young person, you're accruing debt from school, and that's going to keep a lot of people from working on new things and new projects because you have to start something that's going to pay the bills right away.
Kaushik is careful not to completely write off school. Depending on how his healthcare project goes, he may return to university life. Lucy, on the other hand, already has multiple job offers from Silicon Valley companies, all without a diploma.
Thanks, Lean. And proponents of extreme sports and more specifically skydiving are receiving the flag over increased fatalities in recent months, although wingsuiters have become an increasingly common sight in the Alps in France. The 21 deaths reported worldwide last year have raised concerns that the spread of sensational videos online could be encouraging amateurs to take increasingly dangerous risks.
It's the ultimate adrenaline rush and the ultimate selfie video. Wingsuiters first started jumping off the side of Brevent Mountain near Chamonix in the French Alps in June 2012. But thanks to videos like these, there are now 30 or so jumps here a day, raising concerns in the media about the dangers of this hair-raising sport. Geraldine Fashnatz has been a base jumper for the last 10 years and feels the negative publicity is unfair.
They talk about us when there are accidents, but they don't talk about us when we carry out beautiful jumps in the Alps or elsewhere. It's a shame because it's a magnificent sport. It's very gentle, it requires an enormous amount of preparation, an enormous amount of work.
Few wingsuiters jump without a camera attached to their helmets. And the more extreme the jump, the bigger the internet sensation, often giving amateurs the wrong idea. This workshop produces the harnesses used in the wingsuits. It's run by one of the pioneers of base jumping, who's concerned about its increasingly wide appeal.
The concern we have today is that certain media will use these spectacular images to make sales without showing the activity as it really is, and that's a little unfortunate.
Websites like Melt Extreme try to show the videos shot by professional base jumpers without encouraging amateurs to take the same risks.
There are professional wingsuiters who do this. There are about 100 of them in France who practice the sport at a professional level, and we explain that. If it's an amateur who was taking too many risks, we're not going to give them publicity. So there's a balance to strike.
It's a balance that the authorities are also trying to find by regulating the jumps at Brevent to prevent the risk of collisions. But just as the videos online are virtually unstoppable, so are the thrill seekers who continue to take risks with their lives.
And all systems are set for the fourth round of the Safaricom Sevens series, the Prinsloo Sevens, that kicks off in Nakuru tomorrow. The event will also double up as the second leg of the Kenya Rugby Union National Circuit. The tournament was named in honor of the late Pete Water Prinsloo, a Nakuru-based rugby veteran of South African descent, who revamped rugby in Nakuru in the 1980s, and the home team, Nakuru Top Fry, will be flying the town flag. The tournament will be staged at the Nakuru Athletics Club and feature defending champions Kenya, Heli Queens, Mwamba, Nakuru, among other teams, with the entrance fee of 300 shillings worth of unscratched Safaricom airtime cards.
Kushiriki katika mchuano huu wetu wa Prinsloo Sevens mwaka huu. Kwa hivyo mashindano yatakuwa makali.
And that brings us to the end of our edition of Newsdesk this Friday, and we'll wind up with a Did You Know fact. And you know, with the Turkana Cultural Festival going on, did you know that the Mohawk was for the very first time recorded in history by the Turkana people, because they seem to be the original stylists of the Mohawk. My name is Joy Doreen Bira, and well, until tomorrow, have a fantastic weekend.